Since 1984, Grant Langley has been the chief lawyer for the city of Milwaukee. He and his staff act as a full-service law firm, conducting legal business for city government, including departments, boards, and commissions. There are several areas where citizens come into direct contact with members of the city attorney's office.
Municipal Court Branch 3 for the City of Milwaukee is now in session. The Honorable James A. Grambling Jr. presiding. Your silence is commanded. You may be seated.
There are 3 branches of municipal court. They handle tens of thousands of cases annually, prosecuting alleged violations of city ordinances.
At this point in time, given the nature of the offense, given the expense that the city had to put forth in order to get the officer into court on March 23rd, the city would in fact oppose the motion at this time.
I suppose the city attorney's raised a good point here. If you were healthy enough to come in on the 24th, why weren't you healthy enough to come in on the 23rd?
The staff of the prosecution division of the city attorney's office handles such things as speeding, vandalism, assault and battery, and trespassing. Most of the actions involve traffic.
We have approximately 180,000 cases which run through our 3 branches on a yearly basis. And I would venture to guess, based upon my experience at the city attorney's office here, that the vast majority of those, probably 60 to 65%, are traffic-related offenses. First thing they need to do is either decide whether or not they're going to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty to the charge. If they decide that they want to plead not guilty and potentially fight the charge, they will in fact receive a pretrial conference date whereby they'll be able to sit down with a representative of our office, the city attorney's office, and discuss the case. And if we can resolve the case in one way, shape, or form, at that point it would be negotiated and taken care of, and the court would accept whatever amendment, if any, that the city attorney's office proposes. If not, the matter would proceed on to trial, whereby our court system would deal with that trial. But they should come in with an open mind. They should come in with the understanding that the city attorney's office is going to try to deal with them on a case-by-case basis and try to be as reasonable as possible. We're not going to be handing out gifts necessarily, but they should come in with the understanding that if they come in with an open mind, the city attorney's office also is going to be open-minded, and potentially all cases can be resolved in a manner that's satisfactory to everybody.
Another area where the public comes into direct contact with members of the city attorney's office is before common council committees.
The ambulance was a 3rd vehicle that was not negligent in the collision at all. The other driver was cited for failure to yield to emergency vehicle for striking our police car, and as such we don't see that there's any liability on the city of Milwaukee. We call the liability on the driver that struck the police car.
The Judiciary and Legislation Committee hears appeals from citizens on a wide variety of topics. An assistant city attorney is assigned full-time to committee business.
The first reason I would give you is that we want to make sure as government lawyers that the process is followed appropriately. And what I mean by that is there's a certain process set forth by ordinance and by state statute which both the city and people filing claims against the city must follow. And part of the obligation of government lawyers in particular is to make sure that procedures are followed to the benefit of not only the government agencies but to the benefit of the citizens.
About half of the appeals involve accidents, such as with city vehicles or falls on city property. Citizens also bring complaints about flooded basements and damaged personal property. If it isn't handled to the satisfaction of the citizen by the individual department, a written notice of appeal can be filed.
This isn't a procedure that the city of Milwaukee has put in the way of citizens to try to prevent them from filing claims. This is the procedure set up by the state legislature whenever someone files a claim against any municipality in the state. The first thing is, within 120 days of the event that caused the injury or the damage, and the 120 days is very important, within that time period the person must file a written document with the city clerk of the city. And that written document must tell us a general description of what happened and where it happened and who was involved. And it should be signed by the person making the claim or that person's attorney. That's called a notice of injury.
Before going to aldermen, the city attorney's office conducts an investigation into whether there is any city liability.
That individual, the claims adjuster, will oftentimes contact the claimant, make sure that there are at least 2 estimates of the damage in the file from the claimant, will obtain any witness statements, Sometimes we will go out to the scene and photograph the scene or photograph the damage that's complained of. And sometimes the adjusters will go out to the scene and interview other witnesses and assemble other documents.
The adjuster can recommend partial payment, payment in full, or no pay at all if it's believed there is no city liability. If the claim is rejected, an appeal can be made to the alderman.
At that point, the claimant can submit written materials on their behalf. Oftentimes they may bring photographs or submit photographs or written witness statements, and they can bring people on their behalf to the committee hearing and testify about why they believe the city of Milwaukee should pay money to them from this incident.
About 150 claims are filed each month with the city clerk. About 2/3 are settled before getting to the Common Council. Each one is treated separately.
So there's no general formula that we use to say, yes, this is automatically no liability or the other way around. We try to evaluate each case on an individual basis and try to be fair about it. And we have safeguards set up both ways, both for the city to make sure that the taxpayers aren't expending money on claims that we believe are frivolous, and also the other way around, that citizens that do have damage suffered and the damage is not their fault should be reimbursed for it. We've tried to simplify and streamline the process that's mandated by the state as much as we can, and generally the whole process can be done up until before it reaches the Common Council over the phone and through the mail.
Those of you who follow Common Council and committee meetings on the City Channel will be familiar with another assistant city attorney.
This council has seen in a number of instances the difficulties that occur when taverns are out of control. Obviously, the recommendation of the committee is entirely supportable. As to what the appropriate disposition is of this matter, if it be a suspension of some length or a non-renewal, that of course is always reposed to the sound discretion of the members of the body.
The Utilities and Licenses Committee is the city attorney's full-time assignment. The primary concerns here are liquor, tavern, and bartender licenses, rooming house operations, and home contractors. The hearings often result in legal findings of fact and conclusions of law.
These have to meet certain minimum legal standards, and they become the basis of further appeals, particularly into the court system, if they are adopted by the Common Council. And so in order to streamline that process, one of the roles that I fulfill is drafting those findings of fact for the committee. The biggest single group of issues deal with complaints either from members of the public who are affected by the actions of a licensee or a licensed operation, or from the Milwaukee Police Department, which has objections to it. Occasionally, we also have objections from the Building Inspection Department or the Milwaukee Health Department relative to the suitability of a particular person or a premises to hold a particular kind of license. If it's a formal objection from one of the departments, it will include literally a verbatim copy of the objection. If it's something where all the city clerk knows is that there are neighbors that are objecting, they get some idea of what they're objecting to, it's usually noise or litter or parking problems associated with the operation, and then that much information is included with the committee notice. And then the individuals, the neighbors who want to step forward and complain are also noticed, so they have an opportunity to come before the committee and testify as to what the problems are with the licensee or the licensed operation.
If you feel the need to file a complaint with the committee, the city attorney suggests creating a paper trail.
So far as the neighbors are concerned, who may be the objectors, the most frequent difficulty that the committee has when they come in and testify usually refers to the fact that they don't have a clear recollection of dates and times and circumstances of when things occurred. If it involves, occasionally it involves activity that keeps people up at night, disorderly conduct, that kind of thing, it is always appropriate to call the police department. If the problem is a problem that may not necessarily be an ordinance violation in the sense that it's a disorderly conduct problem or a parking problem or that kind of thing. But there's other problems connected with the premises. It is certainly appropriate to get in touch with the alderman's office.
Licensees can prevent a lot of the problems and complaints themselves.
It's a good idea for them to check with their neighbors by themselves on a regular basis to see if any of their customers or the operation of the premises has in any way impacted in some inappropriate fashion upon the neighbors, if they've been kept awake at night, or if there's a litter problem connected with the operation, some such thing. Because then the licensee is in a position to do something about it right up front.
Among the interesting numbers, the population, 628,088 based on the last census. Milwaukee is 581.2 feet above sea level, covers an area of 95.8 square miles. We have 1,430 miles of streets, numbers of many kinds. And then there are vital statistics.
So when we're talking about vital statistics as it relates to the city of Milwaukee, we process about 16,000 births a year and about 7,000 death certificates a year.
And that's what you mean by vital statistics?
Yes.
Births and deaths?
Births and deaths, yes.
The Vital Statistics Division of the Health Department houses hundreds of thousands of records of births and deaths which occurred in the city of Milwaukee. It's the place to go if you need a copy.
We perform multiple services for the public. The main services that we perform are the selling of birth and death certificates. People purchase those. They need the birth certificates for school enrollment, for employment, for travel purposes, or if they're getting a passport, and also for driver's license. That's just to name a few things that birth certificates are needed for. Death certificates are needed by the family for probate, for bonds, stocks and bonds, and as well as insurance purposes. And the funeral directors usually will obtain the death certificates for the family.
The Vital Statistics Office has records of death certificates dating back to 1869. Birth certificates date from 1893. And both are of interest to many area residents.
Genealogists, and we do allow genealogists to come into the office. It's by appointment only, and from 8 until noon, Monday through Friday. And we will look up 5 records for them. But there are other people, historians, people who are just wanting to know a little bit about the history of Milwaukee, because in some of the older statistics, it tells, where the persons originated from. They were from Italy, or they were from Germany, or they were from Poland, or they were from Russia. And we have numbers, specific numbers that say, and even with marriages, because at one time, this office handled marriages up until April of 1984.
The office issues about 60,000 certificates a year. Records dating from 1979 are also accessible through computer files. In order to get a certified copy, which can be used for identification and other legal purposes, you must have a photo ID and what is called a direct and tangible interest. A charge helps cover the cost of the office. Birth certificates are $12. Extra copies are $2.
5 goes to the Child Abuse Prevention Fund, and 2 goes to the Right from the Start program. So we only take in $5 from the $12 fee for the birth certificates. And that gives the family a little break. If a person's getting a passport, we usually recommend that they get at least 2 birth certificates in case one is stolen or lost in the mail or something. Then they have the backup copy here. And death certificates are $7. It's $7 for one and $2 for each additional that's issued at the same time. And with death certificates, because death certificates are needed for insurance purposes and probate and for stocks and bonds and for bank accounts and for creditors and that kind of thing, that really works well for the families, because they'll get, maybe 10 copies, and that's $25, rather than paying $7 for each one.
The office provides copies of its records to the County Register of Deeds, the Election Commission, and the Daily Reporter. It also provides help on getting birth certificates from other states and offers other advice as well.
We give people help with filing delayed birth certificates. Sometimes birth certificates were not filed, and we walk the person through that. We have a notary. We have 2 notaries in the office. We give help with paternity statements, with legitimation forms, and family burial.
If you have any questions about the Vital Statistics Office or obtaining birth or death certificates, you can call 286-3521 or stop in at room 109 of the Zeidler Municipal Building.
People come in many times and they're just really amazed that we have the records, because has not been well published. And one of the things that we really believe in is customer service, quality customer service. That's one of the things that we do. We want each of our customers when they come in to feel special, and they are. They're our employers. So I just think that this is something that's very, very valuable to the City of Milwaukee, and we offer a service that's of value.
National Youth Service Day has been going on for about 10 years, and the reason it was created was to both highlight the service that young people, that is youth and young adults, are performing throughout the country, as well as to encourage more youth and young adults to become involved.
The National Youth Service Day Senior Luncheon brought together young people and senior citizens from the Lisbon Avenue, Metcalf Park, and Midtown neighborhoods. The annual effort creates an opportunity for young people to serve members of the community while they show appreciation to senior citizens for their contributions to the neighborhood and community. Sponsors are the young adults of the Milwaukee AmeriCorps Neighborhood Project.
AmeriCorps is actually a national community service program. It's funded by the federal government, and our particular project focuses on youth and young adults, that is people 18 through 24. Our particular focus is on construction training.
At the moment, the construction training of the AmeriCorps project involves the complete rehabilitation of this duplex on North 39th Street. The 20 Milwaukee AmeriCorps workers give a 1-year commitment to the program. The City of Milwaukee is a partner in the project.
We work a lot with land, Lisbon Avenue neighborhood development, okay, and they'll find the house for us. And the city will give them the house and supply them with the funds for materials. Then AmeriCorps comes in and supplies all the labor and the necessary manpower to rehab. We don't do anything as far as electrical or plumbing, where it all has to be done under licensed contractors. We do the drywall, we do the plastering, we do the framing, the rough carpentry, the roofing, the siding, window installation, rebuild the porches. So I mean, we got our hands full. I think it's a good program. I think it is. It's bringing the neighborhoods back together.
In addition to learning construction and other employment skills, the AmeriCorps program helps the young adults finish their high school education while earning about $150 a week.
Right now I'm going for my GED, and after that I plan to go for my apprenticeship test. So hopefully if I pass my apprenticeship test, I have construction up under my belt. I will actually go into the field, I say about a year, but I wanted to go to college for like 2 years of real estate. I want to have at least, something in a little every category in case, construction ain't going too good, I have something to fall back on. I'd rather be doing this than to be out here on the streets, not making my life what it's supposed to be and what I want it to be. I really would recommend this to a lot of people, though. Yeah, it's a pretty good program, AmeriCorps, 1999.
This home at 1936 North 37th Street shows the finished product of the AmeriCorps workers. The 3-bedroom house is being sold, asking price $38,000, through the community home section of the Department of Neighborhood Services. For information, call 286-5620.
We are, as I said, we are funded by the federal government, but the fact that we're part of the Department of City Development. And if I look at our mission, is that being a part of city development actually means that we're supposed to help to develop what part of the city? It's the mysteries, it's the economy. And our part is actually considered to be workforce development, because at the same time that we are rehabbing the houses, we're also giving young people opportunities that they would not otherwise be able to take advantage of. They're getting skills so that they'll no longer have to depend upon anyone. This is about self-sufficiency, which I think is the city's business.
An important and ongoing goal of city officials is the preservation of Milwaukee neighborhoods. The young adults in the Milwaukee AmeriCorps Neighborhood Project are helping do just that, one home at a time. The illustration on the neighborhood poster is taken from the designs on the old Schlitz Brewery stables in the 200 block of West Walnut Street. The former brewery buildings, redeveloped into Schlitz Park, remain an important part of the neighborhood, employing several thousand people. Perched on high ground with a view of the city, Brewers Hill occupies a unique place in city history, and it's developing a history of its own.
Okay, the house was built in 1884. It was the rectory for St. Marcus Church, which is on the corner of Palmer and Garfield. We moved it here last summer in June. It was the rectory for the first 4 pastors of the church. I had lived in the neighborhood since 1990 in another location farther south, but I realized the potential for the neighborhood, and I liked the neighborhood.
The home has been completely updated while maintaining the unique exterior features, which first attracted Brad to the building.
I guess the detail that still remains on the house, most of it is original. A lot of the clapboards and the detail over the windows, the porch structures, the gingerbread or so what that's left. It's a Victorian style that's very appealing to us.
What about the interior?
The interior, there's a lot of hand-carved original woodwork left in the house. The first floor was fairly ornate, and we stripped down all that woodwork and refinished it. And we put new plaster on all the walls on the interior and had all the floors refinished. So the interior, besides modern amenities, such as appliances or kitchen cabinets, or we added a bathroom downstairs, most of it is original.
Every stage of Milwaukee's development over its 150 years is visible in Brewers Hill. There are several pre-Civil War houses dating to the 1850s. A sure sign of continued growth is the construction of some brand new homes. Architecturally, the district is a rich mix of buildings representative of a wide range of income levels. In the past, it was not uncommon for a business owner to live in a large home next door to his workers' more modest cottage. The location near downtown attracted Steve Bialk in 1985.
The house was built in 1872 by a gentleman named Casper Sanger. It's known as the Sanger House. His lived here for about a year and a half. He owned a door and sash company here in the city of Milwaukee. And then it was sold in 1874 to a gentleman named Joseph Phillips, whose claim to fame was that he was the 17th mayor of the city of Milwaukee. Italianate houses are known for the concept of coming out of that they brought from Italy, trying to duplicate what you would have saw as a villa or an Italianate type villa. You usually have big overhangs, brackets. You have coins which are on the corners of the building. Those are the type of features that you normally see. You see little bays built out on the house, which is added features. There's 5 marble fireplaces in the house, which were original to the house. But we've redecorated it. We had to redo most of the house. It was all sweat equity. Whenever we could afford to borrow money, we did it, and redid 3-4 rooms at a time. There were 13 rooms in the house, and there's still 13, but we've got 2 left to do. So that's how we approached it. When I came here in 1985, there were a few people who had started to do, quote-unquote, some renovation and rehab. But I think it was an undiscovered, uncharted area, if you will. And since then, we've had different waves of people come in. Different types of people looked at the opportunity that the area presented.
Brewers Hill was created by the Milwaukee River. Mayor Byron Kilbourne claimed the land and in 1838 broke ground for a water transportation canal. But with the emergence of railroads, the work stopped in 1842. The canal location is now known as Commerce Street.
Opportunities, I think, are here. It's not just Brewers Hill, but lots of other parts of the city similar to Brewers Hill when they were built. I think the important thing that I see is that people should be able to take a look at a neighborhood of older houses and not just see disrepair, but see opportunity. See that there's potential there, like a lot of us did.
For many years, 3rd Street, now Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, was the major commercial district for Brewers Hill, the downtown of the North Side. Along with Brewers Hill, the business district is seeing a multi-million-dollar revitalization. A Brewers Hill resident heads the Business Improvement District.
In order for us to redevelop Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, we also need to have that connection with the residential neighborhoods that surround it. You cannot find anywhere in the country an example of a healthy commercial district without a healthy residential neighborhood that surrounds it. So that relationship is important, and it helps because I live in the neighborhood too and then also work on the street. I have even a better understanding of that connection. What we've been doing over the last 3 to 4 years is that we've been very specific on the type of usages that we want to see. So along North Avenue and King Drive, which is sort of North Avenue is the northern part of Brewers Hill, we're focusing our attentions on retail development. As you go further south along King Drive, because of its proximity to downtown and access to a regional freeway system, we're pushing more in the way of office development. One of the things that we do look at also is this mixed-use development that we refer to, where you put the commercial development on the ground floor and then you do apartment or sort of condo-style residential development on the 2nd or 3rd floor. You're seeing also other types of residential development through the use of low-income tax credits so that we're getting the right type of income diversity within our neighborhood too.
Roth says the newly announced $30 million Harley-Davidson Museum to be built at Schlitz Park and replacement of the Park East Freeway spur with a boulevard will make the area even more attractive.
It will make us a downtown neighborhood. For whatever reason, that Park East Freeway serves as both a mental and physical disconnect. And if you bring that down, we are all of a sudden part of downtown. And I think that will really open up all sorts of different other real estate opportunities.
I think it's just getting stronger. We just had a large project which is starting shortly at the entrance to the hill. It's about a $4.5 million project, which will be 16 single-family units, duplexes and single-family. We're looking forward to that happening. I don't see anything but this neighborhood getting better and stronger.
So I hope that the development continues. I hope that the people that have some vision take a look at the area and see that all we've done is, as I said, set the table for the main course.
Overlooked for many years, Brewers Hill and King Drive are achieving a unique place in the present as they did in the past. And residents say opportunities like this exist in other Milwaukee neighborhoods as well.